And welcome to the Relationship Restaurant, episode 73. We're doing it a little bit differently this time. We're doing a video conversation, a Zoom call, like half the world is, I think, right now, Poppy. But at the Relationship Restaurant, we're all about heart healthy communication. This is a time when heart healthy communication is at a premium and often not done. But today we're going to be talking about co parenting during the coronavirus pandemic. And we're going to be talking about some of the tough issues for parents at home. And but how about those parents who are divorced? Not just having kids at home now is tough on its own, but being divorced and trying to co-parent during this virus pandemic is a real challenge for folks. But today we're very happy and very excited to have Randy Kessler join us, an internationally well-known family law attorney from the Atlanta area in Georgia. And welcome to you, Randy.
Thank
Hey,
you. And
Randy.
hey guys, so happy to be with you guys.
And before we get started, I have to give a little bit of your background because it is
So impressive.
amazing. Um, Randy or
Uh,
Randall is the founding partner of Kessler
Very good.
Soleimani family law attorneys. They have 30 people in their law firm in Atlanta. He's the author of many family law books, including Divorce, Protect Yourself, Your Kids, and Your Future. He has 32 years of experience in domestic relations, family law matters, divorce, custody, paternity, prenuptial agreements, and child support, which we will get into later today. He's lectured in over 32 states and 6 different countries. Amazing. A LinkedIn influencer with over 425,000 followers or connections, including yours truly, hopefully after today, and appears on many national media outlets such as Fox News, CNN, NBC. We've seen a couple of them. A graduate of Brandeis University and Emory University Law School, where he is a professor. And he's the former chair of the family law sections of the American Bar Association, the State Bar of Georgia, and the Atlanta Bar Association. And that is amazing.
Wow, I'm just exhausted hearing that, Randy.
I'm tired too. Who are you talking about?
Yeah. But also, you're the founder and inventor of Starsona, providing personal videos from stars to their fans, which really intrigued us. Before we even get into the legal stuff, tell us a little bit about
What is
Starsona.
that?
I'm so glad you asked. So we represent a lot of athletes and celebrities, and there are a lot of folks in Atlanta that have been famous or semi-famous. And I'd go to court with them, and they'd stop and do selfies with people. And I'd say, you got to go to court. And I just kept thinking there should be a way for stars to be able to reach out to their fans without having to be stalked or wait outside or go to an autograph signing. And so I had a family member who was in Silicon Valley and had been very involved in LegalZoom. And then I met a guy named Peter Karpus who had been the CMO of some big companies and CEO of a Silicon Valley great company. And we just put our heads together and said, I wanted to call it the Happy Birthday app. Like you should be able to find somebody online to say happy birthday. And we were going to call it Stargram and Start. Then we decided, let's be unique. And so now not only, I'm so excited because this is the first time I've said this. So we've been open for about a year and a half where fans, anyone in the world can go online and pick a star and say, for $20 or whatever the star is charging, will you wish my kid happy birthday or tell a joke to my friend? But today we just launched, and I'm really not supposed to say this because we have a soft launch, where now there's a whole menu of options. You can actually ask the star to direct message you or to like a comment on Instagram of yours or to sell you some merch. All the stars that are going to have different menus, and not all the stars have it yet. We just started it today, but it's a really cool way, especially for stars that are sitting home thinking, I wish I could be involved with my fans, or for fans that want to touch or feel or be in connection with their superstar, their hero. So it just sort of evolved out of my divorce practice and those folks in Silicon Valley running it. I don't know the technology. I don't know how it all works. I just know the product looks great. It feels good to have an idea that actually works. And so it's my side gig. And it's much more fun to talk about than divorce.
Well, you know what? That's one of the things I was just thinking. While I'm not a big star, but I am a singer. And one of the things I regularly do for people is singing happy birthday, because that's one of the songs, believe it or not, that is the most fractured, destroyed, horribly performed songs in the history of man is happy birthday. So if you ever need anybody to record a happy birthday for somebody,
you don't have to pay royalties.
That's right. And I'm your man, Randy.
Go to Starsona. you should go to starsona.com and
.com.
sign up as a star.
Okay.
We
It's
will accept you
STAR
gladly. Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Starsona.com.
We'll do it.
starsona.com.
SONA. Yes.
Well, thank
Yes.
you for sharing that information on that. But again, we're thrilled to have you here, and we have a kind of a right off the bat question: is your phone ringing off the hook right now? Because people are all of a sudden trapped at home, and couples are who might not have been doing very well already.
Oh, hold
Hold on, yeah,
on. I've got a new client calling right now.
right now.
You know, unfortunately, it is. You know, a lot of times it's just a divorce 101. What is it going to look like? Because now I've thought more about it. Divorce. Would I be happier staying the way I am or getting divorced? They go home, they're unhappy. They go back to work and they forget about
Right.
it. Or they travel and they forget about it. Now they see what they're confronted with and they see the flaws in their relationship and it brings it to a head. And a lot of times people are trying to get happy. They're trying to move on and they try diets or illegal drugs or whatever it is, cheating to make themselves happy. And ultimately, sometimes in that mix, in that, you know, repertoire of what can make me happy, maybe it's if I get away from him or her, that might make me happy. And people are thinking about it. I think, yes, we are getting a lot more calls. Unfortunately, you think people would come home and say, honey, let's just make it work. And unfortunately, they come home and they say that. The other side gets upset about something stupid and it escalates and they call us.
Right.
Right. So what would you suggest? And we talk a lot about, and not only parents living together, but parents, maybe former clients that you've had who they're leery of honoring their time sharing schedule. And they suspect that their ex or their significant others or their ex's significant other or somebody in their household may have been exposed and they don't want to send the children over there. So do they contact you for that?
That's a tough one. Yes, that and domestic violence, of course, are the two really tough issues. You know, and domestic violence, there's not really two sides to that issue. It's just, you know, it's a function of you're stuck in the same house and you feel helpless. But to get back to your question, those, you know, in every divorce case, there are two sides to every story. But in the parenting time, and my wife just asked me, how do I feel about it? And I said, it has to depend on every situation. Here in Georgia, the governor just issued an order clarifying that visitation, parenting time must go forward.
Wow.
But I can't say 100% that if my wife worked in the COVID unit of Emory University and wanted to have the kids overnight, that I wouldn't be terrified.
Right.
So, you know, it's a question of, I think the way you have to look at it, and here's my free advice or however you want to take it, it's worth what you pay for it, right? Is act in a way that if you're in front of a judge 3 months from now, because your spouse is saying you didn't let him visit or you did this or you did that, just act in a way that the judge would understand why you did what you did. Be cooperative. If you're not going to let the visitation happen, say, can I make it up to you? Can I give you an extra 2 weeks when the pandemic is over? Can I make you have extra FaceTime? Can I give you a drive-by or fly-by where you should violate a court order? Don't say Randy Kessler saw on the podcast that it's okay not to allow visitation because you have to go by the court order. First thing, call your lawyer, do what your lawyer says. Second thing is second guessing your decisions. And you want them to think, you know, that wasn't that unreasonable, that irrational. That's the level. I know each case is different. And if I'm the parent that's been exposed or possibly exposed, same thing. I've got to make sure my spouse knows, hey, this is what I've done to make sure. I have sanitized, I've cleansed, I'm gonna be in a robot mask, I'm gonna be, you know, I won't get near them, or I've been tested 3 more times and I don't have it. I got tested, you know, 2 hours ago to make sure, you know, I don't know what it is, but you've got to think about these concerns as real concerns because the judge you're going to be before almost guaranteed will know somebody who died from coronavirus in 3 or 4 months. Everybody knows somebody. So it's a real thing.
You know, it's funny that you've already kind of jumped to one of our questions we had. One of the
and how we found you.
How we found you, that Huffington Post article that was so great. But one of the things your quote was, behave well, for you may be judged down the road on how you handled this. And so it's almost biblical in what you're saying, you know, judge not lest ye be judged. And, you know,
that's exactly right. And, you know, it's the same advice we give in non-COVID times, right?
Right.
You know, how is a third party, and judges are human beings. You know, if 2 people came to either one of you all and said, we have a problem, here's how I try to resolve it. And if one of them was more reasonable, you want to help the more reasonable
Of
person.
course.
It's hard though. It's hard when your spouse is there nudging and pushing and asking and not letting you go and not, accepting no for an answer. It's hard when you're in the same house, and then it's hard. Exes, you already make a marriage. Parenting time is hard, especially you add the tension of this. And how do you know if it's really that she doesn't want him to visit, or she's just mad because now he can't afford the child support, or she just got laid off from her job and she's taking the anger out on him? I mean, we're human beings, and this is just such a unique field that I'm in normal times, much less now.
And that was one of our questions too, is that we are family law mediators in Wisconsin. And so in Wisconsin,
thank goodness God bless you.
There are several clients that have come up to us recently asking these questions, which is why one of the reasons we reached out to you, because looming over their heads is what's going to happen after post-coronavirus. What's going to happen when I do have to go back to court? And one of the things that we've recommended is to come to as much of an agreement as you can, document it, put it in writing, and keep a log of that during these next few months to do that. Would you agree that that would be a helpful thing?
I agree 100%. And it's interesting because we're in very symbiotic, similar fields. Mm-hmm. What's interesting to me, and I'm sure to you both, is you're giving the same advice that you gave before. It's just now easier for people to understand why. It's the same advice.
Right.
Settlement is always better. Settlement is always better because you two who know the situation and the needs and wants of your children figure out the solution instead of a judge.
Right.
Who really, it's not that they doesn't care. They got 50 more. They didn't get along with their dad, so they don't care so much about this dad's rights, or they didn't get along with their moms. It's going to be a while. I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head.
So,
this podcast.
And what about,
great.
And so what about, thank you, like the retaliation? I'm sure you've had clients that want to retaliate and they see the coronavirus as this great opportunity, use that as leverage against an ex who they're mad at for whatever unknown reason.
Yeah, he's got a new girlfriend and they're just madly in love, and it's just driving her crazy, and I'm going to use this to get him.
So are you able to separate out that retaliation?
Who am I? I don't know if I could, but that's the question. That's the trick. It's sort of like that old saying that a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. You've got to listen to either a lawyer or a good friend or a good one you respect in your community. They'll be more objective, and they will say, what you're doing is really trying to make yourself feel better. What's good for the kid? Need somebody you're not doing this the right way. We all think we're doing what's best. We all think that we're the best parent for our children. We all think that we have things that the other parent doesn't have. But, if you step back from it and you look at it objectively, if you were not in the case yourself, I'm sure you give yourself advice to do it differently than you are doing it. It's just, don't represent yourself. Get someone's opinion, or if you can, step back and say, the parent who says, I have a right to be mad at him, but I don't care. These are his kids too, or her kids too. And I'm going to make sure that children never hear a bad word from me about this in front of them or the other parent if they're not married.
Good. Okay. So
yeah, we apologize too, and then bandwidth. The entire world is using Zoom right now, so I know we're having breaks here and there in the recordings, but your message is coming through though. And
what I said was great.
It was. We loved every bit of it. The message actually makes it through. It's funny how it
catches up.
It still puts it together. But the other thing we thought fascinating, we watched your Today Show interview
from last January.
Right, and we thought it was fascinating too about how you have clients that we've seen this too. Poppy and I also do relationship counseling, so same kind of thing where people they've been kicking around this idea. It hasn't been going well for a long time, and they come and talk to you. You say you have clients that do these check-ins just occasionally and your perspective, of course, as a lawyer is always different from our perspective as counselors and now mediators, of course, as well. So tell us more about that idea of the check-ins.
Well, I like, the idea of a check-in is probably, I probably have more ability or more power, affect change, because people come to me to say, and what I mean by check-in is they'll come and say, I want to be ready if a divorce happens, or when I get to that point, I want to be in a position that it will go easy and not be expensive. And really my advice is just easy advice is just be the best parent you can be, and go overboard, raise children, because like the situation I had once where a gentleman wanted 50-50 custody, and I said, when? He said, I don't know, whenever I file for divorce, tomorrow or next week, I don't know. 3 years later, after I've been meeting with him once a year saying, just be a good dad so that when we get to court, you can say for the last year or two, I've been bringing them breakfast, taking them to school. He came in, and then year number 3, okay, we're going to try to get 50-50. I said, what do you mean no? He said, we already talked about it. My wife and I agree. She sees I'm a good dad. She has no problem with it. So, just by giving people good advice for how to do well in court, sometimes sticks. You say, be a nice guy for strategic reasons, and they become nice people, and if they're not able to do it anyway, then I'm glad they tried it and they realized, what, I don't really want custody because it's too hard. So I wish more people would sort of think about, where do I want to be in 3 years? Not just, I caught her cheating, I'm going to take the kids, the house, the car, the boat, the whatever. It doesn't work like that. It's what's the best situation for children.
Right. And I know you, I know you deal with a lot of celebrity clients as well. And I know your advice is the same for them as well, right? It's the same advice, whether they're a celebrity or they're just somebody that's not a celebrity.
Even more so, do the right thing, because if anyone's going to get caught doing something wrong, it's a celebrity. Everyone notices them. If they're in a grocery store with their boyfriend or girlfriend, or they are yelling at the cashier, someone's going to remember it because of who they are. So absolutely, it's the same thing. And their fan base is sometimes more important to them than the money. How they appear, how they hold themselves out, how they act in this divorce may be more detrimental to them than losing that extra $50,000. Tom Cruise settled his divorce case, and who knows between Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise where the dirt was. We'll never know, because it's settled, and they were able to go on and make more movies and make more money. Maybe one of them would have lost a career had it been a nasty, bloody battle. So, working it out for the sake of your children, or if you're a celebrity, for the sake of your career and your image, or if you're just a person and you want to make sure that people think well of you, get it resolved. Do it yourself. Don't let lawyers make a lot of money and push you. You're in charge of it. You can tell your lawyer, you can tell your mediator, I want to settle the case. I know I could do better in court, but it's worth it to me to get it resolved. And that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Well, we agree. We're both divorced, and we have children. We have very collaborative, wonderful relationships with our exes, and
That's great.
actually nurture that. There have been many celebrations, birthdays, graduations, holidays spent with the whole family and the whole.
It never ends, because you have the grandchildren and all of their events. So we absolutely want to set a precedent to make all the kids as completely comfortable with this as possible, and make it even joyous. We put it away, get beyond it, and make it happy.
Right.
And everyone that's listening, I'm sure, is saying, I would do that, but he's a jerk.
That's right.
Well, you know what? Everyone thinks that they're right. Step back and suck it up. And I agree, because the outcome that you guys have been able to procure is worth whatever sacrifice you've made. And despite the fact that that your former spouse had more flaws than you did, they feel the exact same way, right? It's worldwide.
Well, I always, the one and only thought that ever went through my head, if I ever had a negative thought about an ex, was, that is the father of my children. Done. That's it. I have 4 children. It's like, that's it. It's the father of my children. I'm not going to disparage him.
Right.
You won't find me doing that. So
I heard a judge once say, and he was exactly right.
Go ahead.
The judge once said, when you criticize the other parent, you're criticizing half of your child.
Right. Exactly.
have two parents. And if I hear that my dad is a bad person, that's saying that I'm a bad person because half of me
Right.
is my dad. So,
Right.
when you say anything negative about the other side, you're criticizing your child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I left the field of therapy to go into counseling and mediation with Jeff because I figured we could make an impact,
You never left. You're still in it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one of the things I'm curious. We were watching also. I think it was an Atlanta Good Morning interview of some sort, and the topic came up, something that Poppy and I have both seen as a phenomenon, the January kind of a bump in divorce filings. And not only did we have seen it, I know I personally experienced it. I knew that exact feeling, got to make it through the holiday. And once the holiday is over, and you've made everybody suffer miserably during the holiday with you because they all see it, but nobody talks about it. And you make it through, and then you finally actually start the divorce process. I'm just curious. Do you think we're going to see this kind of phenomenon happen? Like people are just going to say the same thing. I just got to make it through
After
this.
the virus.
I got to make it through this
After
virus
the
thing,
quarantine.
and then we're going to do it.
That's a great question. I haven't had time to think about that. I've been putting fires, but I think so. I think getting people of clients that are current clients saying, I just want to hold on because anything we do, I've got to live with him or her.
Right.
But they're already saying it because we already have the relationship. So I think that's going to happen. I think people are going to want their freedom. I also think, unfortunately, that there'll be a lot of affairs after this is over. Think about the people that are having affairs.
Oh, they can't.
Can't
Right.
have them now. Right. And they're building it up and they're thinking, I just can't wait. And people, imagination is always bigger than reality. And people are thinking, man, when this is done, you only live once. And I'm going to gamble because I haven't been able to go to a casino. I'm going to be able to get, I can't imagine. You're right. This is going to be bigger than a January bump, I think, when
Right.
people get out
and
say, all right, I can go look for a new house. Yeah, I think you're right.
And so just on the flip side of that, I mean, it was just a thought that came to me as we were preparing for our call today. What about those people who you've already divorced and because of this pandemic and they truly, both parties both have the best interests of the kids, not just in talk only, but they really walk the talk. And they now reconnect on an even better level because of this pandemic has brought them closer together because they both are well aware of the safety and security of their children. Are you seeing any of that? Is that coming back where someone might say, yeah, I want to revisit my marital agreement, my divorce agreement, because I do want my ex-husband or my ex-spouse, my ex-wife to spend more time with the kids. I realize how they have been so incredible during these last 6 weeks of quarantine. Is that a possibility?
I haven't seen a lot of that, and that's optimistic, and I hope it
I know I'm a Pollyanna,
happens.
so
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I think people are really just exacerbating the negatives that they see when someone really insists on being at the house at 3 p.m. and they're saying, can't you wait until, next week? I hope that happens. I think what we're seeing though is, we always talk, what's divorce really about at its essence? And to me, it's not about money. It's about moving on. And it's sort of like the grass is greener, right? People always think if I got divorced, I'd be happier with him or with her or single or whatever it is. And now you're not only with your new partner, you're stuck with your new partner in an enclosed environment. And some people I think are seeing that maybe the grass really isn't greener.
right.
That I didn't have it so bad because they thought, I married somebody, my ego tells me I've got to stick with this new marriage because I divorced my old spouse to get married to this new spouse and I don't want to be a failure twice. And I'm just going to live my life and we'll have this relationship. But now, I mean, it's more of a marriage than it ever was. But I think it's exposing those, and those people are going to say, you know what, I'd rather get divorced a second time than be in this marriage, which is actually worse than my first marriage. Human beings attract the same type of people.
There's actually a lot of stats. Poppy and I studied this in writing our book because a lot of people, the odds are actually worse on second marriages and even worse on third marriages for divorce there's only one exception
Is
to
that
that.
$1 billion worth?
One
the
billion
title?
seconds. 1
Yes,
billion seconds. Yeah.
which is about
Is
32
that a
years, the
billion
time we
one?
were apart.
Well, 1 billion seconds. Waiting for you to come back here.
Will you speak your book and I'll send you a copy of mine?
Okay,
Yes,
that's a great
yes,
idea.
we'll do it.
But the phenomenon of that of the 1 billion seconds, 32 years, the one exception to the rule about second, third marriages is if you go back and find your original sweetheart of your life, which is what Poppy and I did after 1 billion
Interesting.
seconds, 32 years. We rediscovered each other, my college girlfriend. And
So
that's
your
interesting.
first love, but we
First
don't,
love
this
is-
is not to get everybody to jump on the internet and go find their high school or college sweetheart. This is not the time to
not
do
the
that.
time to do it,
But
unless you were ready to get a divorce, and that's
we were already divorced.
we were
We were
divorced,
already
and
single
that's what made it
and
legitimate.
available. But
I have another question.
That makes so much sense.
Go ahead.
Before your question, I want to tell you,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense to me, not only for everyday people, but the athletes, the people that the long relationships are the ones when they dated somebody before they were famous.
Right.
That's who knew them
Right.
when they were humble, when they were not, and you know that she loved me because, or he loved me because I was this fun
Right.
17-year-old, not because I was a superstar. So I see a lot of truth in it. People that knew you when you were just evolving and growing, that makes a lot of sense to me. I can't wait to read your book.
Thank
And
you.
likewise, Poppy and I was just looking at it earlier, so we need to get that book. But one more kind of legal question here too, because one of the terrible things that's happening now to these couples, and people are they're losing jobs left, right, and center, and all of a sudden you're in a position where you can't pay that child support, you can't pay the alimonies, and what kind of advice are you giving to people now when that kind of thing happens, Randy?
Pay something. Just
Okay.
like with the custody stuff, reasonable. Be
Whatever
reasonable.
you can.
If you pay nothing, you're in trouble. If you pay
Okay.
what you can, and maybe say, hey, how about if I pay a reduced amount, and if I get the money back, I'll reimburse and I'll pay it. See if you can work out an accommodation. And if you start paying less, you should hire a lawyer to seek a reduction and not
Yes.
just engage and sell people that ask instead of forgiveness.
And we always say, document it. If you do have even a partial agreement of some sort, write it down, both of you sign it, so that when you do eventually, if you go to court, you have that in place, and speak with
100%.
a mediator or attorney, either way. And I love that advice of do what you can. And I would go back to your famous quote in the Huffington Post article that you were going to read, right?
Behave well.
It just behave well, for you may be judged down the road on how you handle this. I just think that it's a great thing, and it's a good thing to do every single day. I mean, not even for parents who are co-parenting in coronavirus. It's just like, let's behave well every single day, And
Right.
so
It's easy. And I get paid as a lawyer to tell people that. It's common sense, because it's not me. I can tell other
Yes.
people, but when you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to hear that. But it is good advice. I agree with you.
I
agree with you.
Poppy has a funny thing she says many times. She overheard a conversation with a woman scolding her children. She says, "I have 2 words for you: behave."
right.
That's
Something that
2 words.
yeah, we used to do that all the time. But so last words for parents who are not getting the time sharing schedule that they want, or the custody arrangement, we're not following it because they are terrified of maybe their ex is a firefighter or a nurse or a physician treating COVID-19 patients. What is the best thing they can do?
Talk about it. Express your concerns. Tell them, here's why I'm worried about it. And ask them, the other side, to put them at ease and say, if you can address these concerns, fine. Next step, you guys. Some folks that are used to managing and mediating situations like this because you understand both sides concerns. You've lived it, you've worked
Right.
it, this is what you do. But go see a mediator, go see a neutral, somebody who can say to both sides, look, she is not going to let you visit. It's a bad thing. You can complain about that later. But in the meantime, your kids need to see you. Get on FaceTime, do the extra things. Don't punish the children by saying, I'm just not going to do anything. You know, you all know how to talk to people privately. And maybe, you know, when will you feel comfortable? Give us the criteria that has to happen. You know, Donald Trump has to open the gates. Or is it that the businesses have to open, or when the streets become open, or when the shelter-in-place order expires? Give him a date so he knows that it's not forever, that he's not going to see his children. Doesn't mean that he agrees to it happily, but give everybody hope that there is a future and there is a plan. This is not just coronavirus is my excuse to never let you see your children again.
Right. And we've even suggested to one of our clients to offer an accommodation of, okay, I'm going to keep the kids for the rest of April or March or whatever it is. And this summer, when the pandemic lockdown has lifted, you get 21 days with the kids.
Right. Perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate when people say, I'm counting the days in the year. I want 50%. Well, do you want 50% of the nights or 50% of the days or the vacation days?
Yeah.
I'd rather have all summer and no time during the school year than all the school days and, you know, every weekend. That's only 4 days a month or 8 days a month. Well, that's quality time. So, you know, it's a matter of figuring out what's good for this family. And that's a good, if we're time in the summer, I'd rather have an extra 2 weeks in the summer that I can take off and go somewhere than having, you know, an extra night here, an extra night there, and maybe expose my child to something.
Mhm.
Right. Well, Randy, thank you so much for joining us. You are awesome. We loved having you. And again, your book,
This
and
is
where
fun.
where
Come
can
down to
people?
Georgia. Come on down.
Yeah. So my ex lives in Georgia, and actually,
DivorceProtect.com.
full disclosure, we are diehard Packer fans, Green Bay Packer fans, and when they were playing in the championship 2 years ago in Atlanta, we drove from our home in Sarasota, Florida, with our daughter, and stayed at his home with his wife, and stayed
And
overnight.
suffered
And
through a miserable game watching the Falcons beat them up for the
yeah,
right to go to
so
the
you're
Super
probably
Bowl.
a Falcons fan. I don't know.
I'm a
Steelers?
Saints fan.
Oh,
So
Saints.
you know, Saints fans hate Falcons fans. Saints.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was at that game, and then I went to Houston to watch the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and I was torn. I live in Atlanta, and of course I wanted the Falcons to win for my friends in Atlanta. But as a Saints fan growing up, because I grew up in New Orleans, I can't deny that there's a little bit of, oh my gosh, we get to stick it to Atlanta again. But, you know, it's a good, fun rivalry down here. And you guys are spoiled rotten. You guys don't know what it's like to be losers for 50 years like the Saints and like the Falcons. It's,
That-
Falcons
that's-
will get theirs. They'll
well,
get
I
theirs.
actually grew up in Cleveland, so I do have some appreciation for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Ah,
All right.
Again,
So
Randy, thanks.
you know,
Thanks so much.
real
one
quick,
day I'll be there and
yes, we'll get you. We'll come to a game with us. But tell everybody where they can find you again.
so the book is at divorceprotect.com or on Amazon, but randykessler.com, ksfamilylaw.com. If I said something that irks you or you don't like, shoot me an email. Let
Inspires
me know
you.
because they call it practicing law. Yeah, it makes me better. I mean, we're all an accumulation of our knowledge and what we've learned, and you know, doing the American bar stuff and speaking and teaching at Emory. I learn stuff every day, and makes me a better lawyer, a better person, and makes me grow. So I love learning, love meeting folks like you. And when I get up there, we have some friends in common. There's a great lawyer there named Greg Herman. I don't know if you know him.
Oh yes, yeah.
So he's a dear friend, and I will make sure that I let him know how great you are.
Oh,
One day we'll
very
go out and
awesome.
party
You're-
together and
You're very kind, and
We'll take you to Lambeau.
some cheese.
yeah,
To go. I would love to. That'd be a dream. All right, I'll be up there.
All right.
thanks.
So the
much.
Saints beating the Packers game.
No.
No.
I like the Saints. They're okay.
Again, thank you so much for being our guest. You've been wonderful. Thank you for being on the Relationship Restaurant. Until next time, we're Poppy and Jeff Spencer, and we're signing off. See ya.
Take care, y'all.